in order for you to have a total transformation, you have to have a total overhaul of your expectations that this game is going to take a long time. How many times do we say, I know what to do, I just don't do it? Well, the reality is you might know what to do, but you don't know how to implement it. You have to understand that your relationship with yourself is the most important. And it's no wonder that the harder you are in yourself, the more rebellious your actions get. But the problem is most people are trying to shame and guilt and berate themselves into a transformation of self-love, and it's never going to happen. Your relationship with food is why you lose it on the weekends. Your relationship with food is why you say, once I start, I can't stop. Your relationship with food is why it feels like a war zone in your pantry. This is why I only want to talk to people who are serious. I only want people listening to this who are like, yes, I'm done dabbling. Because only people who dabble are the ones who store all this information and then they don't apply it. I only care about applying because that's where the ROI is cheap. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton, and I'm your host. Now, today's episode is a little bit different. Today, I am going to walk you through all of the 8 mini transformations you have to have your life-altering total transformation. Now, this episode is a little bit different. So I actually have something I wrote ahead of time. I'm going to read to you just so you understand the seriousness of this episode, because when it comes to creating a total life-altering transformation, we have to be in a different frame of mind entirely. So I'm going to read this to you. Now, this is not going to be popular, but I think it's important for you to hear to make sure I have metaphorically the right people in the room. Okay. So today's episode is only meant for those who want a total transformation, not just way less, but for those who want not just an external transformation, but inside as well. This episode is not for you if you're willing to try just anything to lose weight. This content is not for you if you're going to give this another half-ass attempt, but when you aren't motivated, throw in the towel like all the other times before. What I'm going to share with you will not be popular. It will not be trendy or flashy. You will more than likely roll your eyes halfway through it before clicking away. But that's also the very reason you need this content more than anyone else. Total transformation is very different than just losing a little bit of scale weight. Transformations stay forever. It's like building a house. If you do it wrong, at the base, everything else will fall apart. In this episode, I'm going to show you the 8 mini transformations you must have to create a life of total transformation that will not only change your life, but your family's as well. Now, I know that may seem a little serious or a little okay, that's kind of weird, but hear me out. I have no interest, especially with this concept, talking to people who are dabbling. Because at the end of the day, you don't dabble and change your life. You don't half-ass try something like, oh, I'm going to give this a go and radically change your entire life. The only people who change their entire lives are people who are serious. The process of changing your life is entirely intentional and premeditated. This is why whenever you approach transformation or weight loss or any of this stuff, you need to look inward at how is my commitment level right now? How is my seriousness? How premeditated? Am I just going to throw shit to the wall hoping something sticks and see about it radically changing my life? Or am I going to show up on my end and make sure this changes my life? Now, again, this is not just about the external. The truth is, if you want to have a wildly external transformation, you have to have a wildly internal one. That's why the podcast is called Dieting from the Inside Out. We have to do the inner work so the outer work actually works. So I'm going to share with you the 8 mini transformations that are not very popular that will result in your wildly life-changing total transformation. Okay. So transformation number 1, we need to transform your expectations. Look, in the world in which we live, in the day and age of social media and all of this stuff, where any Yahoo like me can go buy a mic and a camera online and start a podcast, it gets noisy really quickly. But this is why we have to look at expectations, because 9 times out of 10, most expectations that are broken, you don't necessarily hate the other alternative. It's just you weren't expecting it. I'll give you a great example. Most people listening to this like water and like Sprite. They're both just a clear liquid. But imagine if you were expecting Sprite. You were going to go drink out of a cup of water and expecting Sprite, fizzy, citrusy lime soda, whatever you want to call it. But it was water. You would probably spit it out because it was not what you were expecting. And you're like, oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. Also, inversely, if you were expecting water, you're expecting some flat, regular water, and all of a sudden you got hit with that spicy water, you got hit with carbonation and lime and citrus and all this stuff, and it hit you, you'd probably spit it out too. But you like both water and Sprite. But when you expected one and got the other, you had a bad experience. Even something as morbid as death. Death always sucks and it hurts. But if you're expecting the person to pass away, like you're a loved one to pass away, you can process it and handle it so much better. If all of a sudden, grandma has been doing great and all of a sudden just heart attack and she dies, it's rough because you weren't expecting it at all. But if grandma's been in and out of the hospital for the last year and the doctors are like, bro, she's got like 4 months to live and it's on month 6, you're probably just completely anticipating it. So it's not as hard to handle. It doesn't blindside you as much. It's the same thing here. The amount of people who tell me every day that they are so upset on how little weight they've lost this week. I'm like, this week? How much weight do you expect to lose in 7 days? In 168 hours? And they go, oh, it sounds really bad when you put it like that. I'm like, it's just the numbers. Or if someone loses, let's say 10 pounds in, I don't know, let's say 20 weeks. And they're like, oh, I've only lost 10 pounds in 20 weeks. I go, you say that like it's a bad thing. It's because they're comparing it to asshole on the internet who's targeting you with Facebook ads. It's about losing 30 pounds in 30 days on the keto diet or a GLP-1. So we have to adjust and transform our expectations because the reality is this. And I'm just going to tell you straight because I respect you and you deserve the truth. Your transformation is going to take a lot longer than your ego will want it to. Because the part of you that's always in a state of, I haven't made enough progress. I'm too far behind. I should have lost more by now. It's completely egoic because there's no world where you should be further ahead. You are exactly where you are supposed to be based off the level of actions and consistency that you have. This is why when people say, oh, I've been consistent for a year, but I haven't seen results, like that doesn't happen. That's like saying 1 + 1 is sometimes 17. No, the numbers don't add up because in every single one of those cases where someone's like, oh, I've been consistent for the last year and nothing's changed. It turns out they binge eat every weekend. Or I think I just saw a study or a statistic the other day. When someone estimates how many calories they eat, they're most of the time double wrong. Oh, I only eat 1,200 calories a day. That average person eats 2,400 calories a day. And it's not that the person's lying. It's that they legitimately are convinced that they eat way less than what they do, or they move way more than what they do. But then when we look at data, it's completely off. So you have to understand, we have to transform your expectations. You have been struggling with this stuff for a long time. Most of you listening to this, it's been a decade's conversation. Most of you listening to this can identify situations when you were little, when you were just a little girl, of whenever you started struggling with food and started gaining weight. And it's been 30 or 40 years? So of course, if there's been things you've been struggling with, not just weight loss, not just like, I battled the same 10 pounds for 10 or 15 years, but most of you have been battling a horrible relationship with food, disordered patterns around food, emotional eating, beliefs that don't serve you. Like that whole all or nothing started when you were like 12 and now you're like 54. You see what I mean? Where we have to transform these expectations that these things are not going to be solved quickly. Can you make crazy progress in crazy time? Absolutely. But you're not going to be done for a long time. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing, but it's an expectation. Because if someone told me, if I was told every time I turned on Instagram that I was going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days and never struggle again by day 100, I would be pissed too. But in order for you to have a total transformation, you have to have a total overhaul of your expectations that this game is going to take a long time. I can't cite the exact source off the top of my head, but I was chatting with a mentor of mine the other day, and he even threw out there that most people, if they can't keep their weight off for like 3 years, they're 95%, they're going to gain like 95% of the weight back, or 95% of the time they're going to gain their weight back. Which is why, like, sit down and get comfy. We're going to be on this ride for a while. Again, don't quote me on that exact one. I actually messaged him right before this, but he hadn't replied yet. But regardless, I think that is a great premise. If it's pretty silly to think if you can't stay like consistent and keep your weight off for just 3 years, you're not going to keep it off after that, because you have to understand that you are working against your psychology and your nervous system. If you have been overweight for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, and it's 6 months on the other side, 1 year on the other side, your nervous system is like, nah, I still like being fat better. It was safer. Or if you've been an extremist or an all or nothing person or someone who binge ate or emotionally ate or sabotaged your progress for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and you're a year on the other side, your nervous system is still very familiar with struggle and really likes struggle. Remember, according to psychology, your brain doesn't give two shits if you're happy. It just wants to know that you're safe. And safe means self-preservation, which means going back to how you were. Your brain would rather gravitate to a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven, because that's just how our psychology is wired. So you need to plan on being in this for the long haul, not as soon as the scale doesn't drop or as soon as things don't go smooth or as soon as, Christmas comes around. You're like, nope, throw it in the towel. I'm going to get back when I can focus on this and give it 100% of my bandwidth. Like, that is amateur level shit right there. Tell me you're not going to make it without telling me you're not going to make it. I know that might sound harsh, but I mean, think about that. You're an adult with responsibilities. If you can't focus on this stuff while life is crazy and give some regard to it, you're never going to make it, because you're an adult with responsibilities. Most of the people that I work with are really high performing women who want this result, and they have all this other stuff going on. They're really driven in their career. They're established in their career, in their family. They're always busy, and they have a calendar that never slows down. But then all of a sudden, if you're going to say, oh, well, it's a busy season at work, I'm going to take a break on this until life slows down. What the hell are you expecting to happen in the future after it does slow down and you get back on it? There is always going to be stuff going on. So which means you need to have a plan that's so doable and have your expectations aligned where it's okay. Hopefully this is making sense. So transformation number 1 is you need to transform your expectations, because everything goes downhill after expectations. Transformation number 2, you need to transform your relationship with food. It still astounds me how many people where I'll have the food relationship conversation with, and the whole premise is, yeah, I'll get back to that after I lose weight. I'm like, sweetheart, I don't think you understand that your relationship with food is why you can't lose weight. Your relationship with food, guys, is why you binge eat. It's why you have food noise that is so loud you can't see straight. Your relationship with food is why you hide your emotions with food. Your relationship with food is why you can't stop overeating. Your relationship with food is why you lose it on the weekends. Your relationship with food is why you say, once I start, I can't stop. Your relationship with food is why it feels like a war zone in your pantry, is because it's just a reflection outwardly of your relationship with food. So it's not a matter of like, oh, I'll get back to it. In my program, guys, this pisses some people off. It's why I'm not for everyone. Literally in my program, you have to earn the right to lose weight, because I will not facilitate someone losing weight while they have a toxic relationship with food, because I know they will gain everything back. If I know someone struggles with binge eating, feels uncontrolled around food, has copious amounts of food noise, and just has a horrible relationship with food, I would be irresponsible to put them through a calorie deficit and get them into a fat loss phase and intentionally try to lose weight without first fixing their relationship with food. I think other coaches who see people who have this disordered relationship with food and take them on as clients anyway and say, oh, it's fine, and they put them through a whole macro split and put them into a deficit without addressing their relationship with food or sending them to someone who can fix it, is irresponsible and should not be allowed to coach, because it's setting that person up for failure. Because you have to understand this. Please hear me when I say this, guys. Your relationship with food is literally everything. If you're listening to this episode, it's not because you are like a bodybuilding competitor who only eats, sleeps, and breathes fitness that has no life, and the only date night you see is to the gym. You have a life. You have a really busy job. You have kids. You have so much going on that some days you wonder why there's only 24 hours in a day. You have a calendar that never slows down, but you probably juggle everything from board meetings, travel and meetings, and bedtime stories. And you have to keep your house clean. And you probably have a spouse or a partner. And you have everything in your life revolves around food: meetings, brunches, holidays, vacations, get-togethers, meeting up with your friends. Everything involved in your life is revolving around food. So it's really important you have a great relationship with food. Otherwise, fat loss is not going to happen. As a whole, food wears many hats, just like you wear many hats. You probably wear the hat of mom or parent. You probably wear the hat of whatever you do for work, nurse, executive, accountant, whatever. You probably wear the role of therapist for your friends. You probably wear the role of best friend for your friends. You probably wear the whole of caretaker for maybe family or whatever. You wear a lot of hats, is what I'm saying. But you can go in and out of those hats all the time. You can't imagine if you're like, let's say you're an accountant, but you're like, no, I only wear my accountant hat. Well, you got to tuck your kids in and read them a bedtime story. Well, that's not going to work. But you take the accountant hat off and put the mom hat on. But then all of a sudden you have a relationship. Let's say you have a husband or a partner. But then you have to take the mom hat off and put partner on or whatever the other hat is. You get what I'm saying? Well, food's no different. Food is so much more than fuel. Yeah, is it fuel? Absolutely. But doesn't it play other roles where it's how we celebrate? It's how we connect with each other. It's how we experience things. It's how we fellowship. Of course, there's so many other things food does for us. So if you're just going to say food is just fuel and nothing else, then you're ignorant to the fact that, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but you're being ignorant to all the facets that food plays in our lives. So we have to transform your relationship with food if you want any chance at enjoying your life or achieving fat loss. That's why I always say food freedom and fat loss should coexist. That's why in my program, we achieve food freedom, then fat loss, and then all of a sudden everyone lives happily ever after. So if transforming your relationship with food is not at the top of your priority list, your priorities are completely out of whack. And we have to fix your relationship with food before anything else. Transformation, number 3. We're actually making decent time with 8 of these. We have to transform your relationship with your emotions. This one's hard for most people. Most people don't feel. Most people have a horrible relationship with their emotions and they think all the negative ones are bad. Because they call them bad. Most people, when they feel anxiety, they think something is wrong and they have to run from it. Most people feel discouraged. They think something is actually and truthfully wrong. So they go change whatever the thing is. Most people feel all these emotions and they don't regulate them because the emotion is never the problem. It's your relationship with the emotions that are the issue. I think it's funny. It's just kind of ironic that the thing is never the problem. It's always the relationship with the thing. What I mean by that, like think about brownies. Brownies are never the problem, but if you overeat brownies, it's because you have a relationship with them. That's the problem. If all of a sudden you step on the bathroom scale and you throw an adult hissy fit, the scale's not the problem. It's your relationship with the scale. Food scale's no different. If all of a sudden you say, oh, weighing my food is disordered, the scale's not the problem. It's your relationship with the scale because somehow you can use the same scale to measure brownie batter and it's fine, right? When baking, the thing is never the problem. It's your relationship with the thing, which includes your emotions because we experience all of them every day. Every single day of your life, most of us are going to feel the spectrum of emotions from hopefully some happiness, joy, and gratitude, but also worry, angst, anxiety, fear, lonely, sad, uncertain, you name it. But if we don't know how to regulate our emotions and we don't have a great relationship with our emotions, that we can just feel things and observe without changing or believing something to be true, then we're going to be on a really forever uphill battle and life is going to suck. Most people are programmed to believe everything that they think and feel. If all of a sudden I feel discouraged about my progress, that means most people will then establish a meaning and go, something is legitimately wrong and I need to make changes. Whereas no, it was just your ego or it's the old pattern or whatever the case may be. Just because you think it or feel it doesn't make it to be true. This is why we all need to do a better job at observing our life. Just become an observer. Observe your emotions. Observe your thoughts. This is for me. I teach in my program the difference between the mental side and the emotional side of things. Emotions are just feelings. Emotions are simply messengers. That's it. You just feel things. The problem is a mindset or a mental side of things is where we actually sculpt beliefs and drive action from. The issue is people feel things, establish narratives and beliefs, and then run actions. And that gets really dangerous. What I mean by that is, let's say something triggers me. And let's say, for example, let's say I don't know, let's say I have a high weigh-in. Let's say my weight's up this morning for whatever reason. And all of a sudden I get sad or I get discouraged. Yeah, there we go. Let's say the emotion of discouraged. But then because I feel discouraged, I feel I should be further ahead. And then I actually believe I should be further ahead. And then because I'm not, I go, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to fall off and start over Monday. What if I just held space for discouraged and just go, you know what? I'm allowed to feel discouraged. I'm not going to change anything, but I'm going to allow myself to feel the feelings of discouraged. Feel things. This is one of the first things that we teach in my program is how do you feel? How do you handle these emotions? Because I could literally gift wrap you the best transformation in the world, but if you don't know how to feel your emotions, you won't appreciate it and you'll probably sabotage it. You have to feel. This is why one of the first things that we always teach our clients is what to do with your emotions. Because I don't know if you've looked out the window lately, but it is a weird world right now. There is so much shit going on. And if you don't know how to regulate your emotions or handle them or have a great relationship with your emotions, fuck, it is going to be a hard life. I don't even have kids. I couldn't imagine the amount of stress or emotions that would come up if I had kids in whatever's going on. It's one of those things where like I get it with just dogs, but I also know that my dogs are way different than kids. But this is the whole point is they're not going away anytime soon. You're going to experience all the emotions all the time. So if you do not have a great relationship with your emotions and can't sit with them and can't feel them and can't allow them to be here and can't feel something without establishing a narrative or a belief about the emotion and yourself and making it personal, we have issues. We got some stuff going on. Because if you can't separate them, that's when people turn to food. That's when people make rash emotional decisions. Oh, I haven't lost enough weight. I'm going to cut my calories. And then you end up binging and falling off. Or how many times have you been emotional and said something to someone you regretted? Or you made a dumb decision? Whereas if we're emotionally regulated, it's not that we don't feel things. Like a lot of people misunderstand it. When you become emotionally regulated, it's not that you don't get triggered. It's not that you don't feel things. It's that you don't react anymore. You respond. You go, oh, I'm feeling this. And it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It doesn't mean I'm broken. It doesn't mean there's whatever. It doesn't mean I need to change anything. It's just that, oh yeah, I'm feeling that. It's kind of like when you need to go take a shit, you go, oh, I need to poop. You don't go, oh, what's this mean? Is something wrong with me? No, you go, I think it's time to poop. And you go to the bathroom. That's it. It's no different with your actual emotions, but all of them. But most people have a horrible relationship with their emotions. So they end up making really dumb decisions and building narratives and meanings off of their emotions that are wrong and sabotaging, because it all goes back to the very first thing we talked about is your brain gravitates to a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. So it will do anything to get back there. So this is why we need a number 3, transform your relationship with your emotions. Piggybacking off that one, we need to, number 4, transform your identity. This is one of my favorite things to work on with people. And it is one of the next things we do in my program after teaching people how to feel. We have to rewrite the identity. To put simply, your identity is your autopilot. So the big thing with your identity is, actually I heard it first from Ed Milet, and I thought it was one of the most appropriate analogies, is your identity is the thermostat on a wall. It regulates everything in your life to match it. So in this realm, if you have an identity of I'm an emotional eater, well, it's no shit that as soon as 3 weeks go by and you haven't emotionally eaten, you find a reason to emotionally eat because it regulates your actions. Hear me when I say this. You are on autopilot the majority of the day. We'll just conservatively say 80-85% of the day, you are on mental autopilot. Well, you're on autopilot to what? It's who you think you are, the stories you have been told and believe about yourself. From whatever, from your childhood, from old conditioning, from whatever it is, but that's what you're on autopilot to. Here's the crazy statistic, if I can get this right. Your conscious mind can only process roughly 11 to 15 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind can process around 11 million bits of information per second, which means that, of course, you default back to all the old shit all the time when you're not even thinking about it. So this is why you subconsciously go back and just get back in the rhythm of whatever you used to do. So if deep down you believe you're not good enough, or you're a perfectionist, or you're an all or nothing person, or you're destined to be fat, of course, when you're 11 bits of information per second, 11 to 15 on your conscious mind is, your subconscious is gravitating back to what you actually believe you are, which is probably not very serving because most people's self-image is trash. Most people treat everyone in their life better than themselves. It's kind of like the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have them do to you. But I think for most really good people, it's backwards. Most people, it's how about you do unto yourself what you do to others, because most people treat themselves like shit. So we have to transform your identity. The problem is, if you keep your old identity, that's what got you stuck, by the way, and you just get great results, your old self will sabotage those on autopilot, subconsciously. Like, it's crazy. This is why it's not how do I get, it's who do I have to become who gets. There's a subtle distinction. It's not, how do I lose 30 pounds? It's, who do I have to become who loses 30 pounds? Realize this, whatever goal you're trying to achieve, whatever transformation you want, is a reflection of your identity. It's a reflection of the version who you become. Right? If I want my staff to be, if I want my staff to listen to me better, it's not a matter of screaming at them. It's a matter of, well, what if I just become a better leader and the byproduct is them following me? Do you see the subtle distinction? What if instead of the goal being weight loss or the transformation, what if you just became this version of you, this elevated higher version of you, and then the byproduct was you have a dope transformation? Because you have to understand that your identity and your results, the relationship with them, is a delayed mirror. What I mean by that is whatever your identity is, your results will be a delayed mirror a year later. Your results right now is a reflection of the last year to 18 months of your identity, of who you believe you are. But this is the problem though. Most people, they don't see results in like 2 months and they're like, I quit. Well, yeah, because you identify deep down as someone who, if they don't get their way, they quit. Or you identify with yourself as all these other things. So you have to change. Everything goes through the lens of who do you have to become? If you do not change the version you are coming, you are always going to sabotage your goals. But the problem is most people aren't even aware of this. Most people are going through the journey of this. And then they say, oh, well, that's just who I am. I'm just an all or nothing person. I'm a perfectionist. I'm a binger. I've always been this way. A conversation I have with clients all the time is, hey, how many times are you going to refer to the past? How many times are you going to go, well, I've always been like this. Yeah, I get it. That doesn't mean that's who you need to stay. But if we just keep living in the past, it's going to create a very predictable future because your brain doesn't know the difference between past, present, or future. It just assumes it's all right now. So if every day you're like, oh, I've always been a binger. I've always been a binger. This is who I am. This is who I used to be. This is what my mom taught me. This is whatever. Yeah, it's no wonder neurologically those brain cells fire and wire together. Now that version of you is on autopilot because you're just replaying the same movie over and over and over again. So you have to change who you believe you are. Because when you change who you believe you are, your actions change. You start showing up differently. Think of it this way. Let's compare it to money. Imagine if you had the billionth Amazon order and all of a sudden your Amazon app had a notification that said, Uncle Jeff Bezos has just given you $1 million to celebrate the billionth Amazon order. And let's say it was legit. But because it's $1 million check, they said, okay, the funds will be available in your bank account in 2 weeks because it's $1 million. The funds will be available in 2 weeks. Would you start carrying yourself differently? Would you not feel a little bit more abundant? Would you not show up with a different swagger? Would you not carry yourself differently? You absolutely would. It's because your identity shifted. You're like, I'm a millionaire. I'm wealthy. All of a sudden, you would walk differently because you also knew it was guaranteed, but it wasn't there yet. It's the same thing here. You have to change who you are. You have to change your personality if you want to change your personal reality. I stole that from Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's the same thing. If you do not transform your identity, your results will always be short-lived. Next, number 5. We are already at a half hour in, 28 minutes. So number 5, to piggyback off of identity, we have to transform your beliefs. Yeah, there's a thing that I've been teaching everyone inside my coaching program, Dieting from the Inside Out. And it's this concept of be, do, have. Be goes back to the identity or your beliefs. We have to go, who do we have to be? Then we go to do. What do we do? The plan. And then we get have, the results. Be, do, have. Most people have it the other way around. Most people go, well, what do I do? Okay, how do I have the result? And then they forget they have to be that person. You see what I mean? Where if you do not be that person, you will not become them. You have to show up as that person. It goes back to the identity concept. But this is why your beliefs matter as well. If you don't transform your beliefs, where do you think the other part of your subconscious actions come from? Because your identity, 4 and 5 are very intermixed. Even number 4 with your identity is a belief about yourself. Who do you believe to be true? Who do you believe to be you? But if you do not transform your beliefs, your actions are just going to go down the toilet. Because if you believe fat loss has to be hard, if you believe you're an all or nothing person, if you believe you're too old, you're too far gone, how many limitations are living rent free in your head right now? And they're all beliefs. But if you believe things to be true, your unconscious actions will start to manifest those. Think of it this way. Think about like the placebo effect even works. The placebo effect is an actual effect. If that doesn't tell you the power of your beliefs, I don't know what will. The placebo effect is true in medicine. These people thought they were getting a steroid. They got injected with saline, and all of a sudden their hormone levels elevated. Sugar pills, well, the whole 9 yards. It's been a thing in medicine forever, but it's because when you believe something to be true, your nervous system changes. Your DNA and RNA start to change. You show up differently. Go back to that whole money example I just gave. If you believed that Jeff Bezos was dumping $1 million into your bank account because you believed it, you carried yourself differently. It's not there yet. You show up differently. It's no different here. You have to change your beliefs. But most people's beliefs are rooted in total, just asinine, incorrect data. Well, I believe I'm too old. Why? I don't know. I've always felt this way. It goes back to the whole feeling thing too. We cannot be feeling certain things and then drawing narratives and beliefs off of those. Otherwise, we just go in this vicious circle. So if you do not transform your beliefs, you'll never get out of this thing. Because if you believe you're too old, too far gone, you're going to show up differently. Of course, you're falling off. If you believe you're a binger, if you believe that's just who you are, if you believe you're an all or nothing person, you're going to unconsciously show up as that person. This goes back to the beliefs of yourself, your identity, or beliefs in general. If you believe that you knew I was going to fail, how many times you say that? Oh, I knew I wasn't going to make it. Well, of course you're falling off then. Our beliefs always have actions that follow suit secondary. It's always a delayed mirror. So if you do not transform your beliefs to ones that actually serve you, you are never going to make it. So you have to transform your beliefs. So a tactical question would be, what beliefs are holding you back right now? What beliefs are not serving you? Maybe some of the ones that I mentioned. Maybe some time to do some soul searching. Transformation number 6 for this massive life-altering total transformation. I told you this stuff is not going to be exciting or sexy, but the people who are going to stick around for the whole thing for this, you're going to change your life. That's the cool part about this. All right, transformation number 6. You need to transform your implementation. How many times do we say, I know what to do, I just don't do it? Well, the reality is you might know what to do, but you don't know how to implement it. Look, most of the people I work with are really, really intelligent. They're higher performers. They're very, very established in their careers. They're very busy individuals. They're very ambitious, and they're anything but dumb. But where the distinction happens is most people, they know what to do. They've spent hours researching. They listen. Literally, I'm literally telling you this on a podcast. Most people know what to do, but in terms of how to implement it is where it gets a little sticky. Because yeah, eat less, move more, work harder. Yeah, but how much less? How much more? For how long? With your busy schedule. Well, you're going on vacation and you have a plane to catch tomorrow. And this, and this, and this, and this. It's an implementation problem. Because if I just read textbook after textbook after textbook, it's almost like the more I learn, the more overwhelmed I would get. Because if you're listening to my podcast, you're probably listening to half my friends' podcasts. And if you're following me online, you're probably following a bunch of other people like me online. And then all of a sudden, some people's opinion gets kind of butt heads with the other one. Then you're like, what do I implement? What do I start with? I don't know. I'm just going to stay the same because you don't know who to trust anymore. Where at the end of the day, we have to change what we're implementing. Knowledge is worthless unless it's applied. Like literally, if you're not applying what it is you're learning, it's all going to waste. You're just wasting more time, energy, and money. This is one of the reasons so many people get into coaching is because we show you what to implement. We don't just say, eat less, move more. We go, here's what to eat. Here's how to do this. Here's what you should be doing. Stop doing this. Start doing this. Here's this habit. Do this for 3 minutes a day. Put this into place so your emotional eating stops. Add more calories here. Start putting this in here. And then all of a sudden people go, oh my gosh, I've never had results like this. It's because you've never implemented like that. You have to change your relationship with doing. We have to transform your implementation. Like most people just read books like the ones behind me or listen to podcasts like this, and it's just a bunch of mental masturbation, and they're just like collecting information, but then nothing's changed. I always say go at the speed of implementation for anything. If you are absorbing faster than that you can apply, then you're going too fast. All that matters is what you can apply. So you have to fix the relationship and transform your implementation. It's not just gathering trinkets of knowledge. It's what am I applying? What am I applying? What am I implementing? And that's where the magic happens. Because I bet if you look back and go, wow, man, what have I actually applied from the last 7 podcasts I've listened to? Probably not a lot. I've had people literally go, Jared, I've listened to all your episodes. I go, so why are we still struggling? It's because they're listening and not applying. They're going, oh, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good. This is so good. How many recipes do you have saved? How many videos of like, oh, that was really good on how to calculate my calories saved? How many things have you sent or emailed to yourself? How many free guides have you downloaded but haven't done shit with? It's because it feels productive to absorb, but it is uncomfortable to implement. This is why I only want to talk to people who are serious. I only want people listening to this who are like, yes, I'm done dabbling. Because only people who dabble are the ones who like store all this information and then they don't apply it. I only care about applying because that's where the ROI is achieved. Next, almost done. Number 7 on the mini transformations you have to have a total transformation. Transformation number 7 is transform how you show up. The reality is most people, because again, most people that I talk to and that I work with are really higher performing, achieving individuals. And with a side effect and that's not so great is most people do things that are unsustainable, right? Let's say someone is crazy successful in their career or with their family. You may do some crazy stuff to achieve the position at work or to get your kids to do whatever. You may do extreme stuff, but when we try to have that same approach here and how you show up, it doesn't work. This is why my motto is if it's not sustainable, it's not worth doing. So you have to transform how you show up. Most of the ladies that join my program, Dieting from the Inside Out, they're shocked at how differently the program is in terms of what they do. Most people tell me, they go, Jared, I feel like I should be doing more and I feel like I should be eating less and I feel like it should be harder. It's because what we're doing is so sustainable and so doable that it goes against everything they've ever learned or everything they've ever done, right? Most people consider themselves an all or nothing person. Most people consider themselves all in, all out. I grind, I go hard, I da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that doesn't work here. We cannot force it like that because you won't last long enough. Grinding also breaks things, which is why we have to make sure this is so sustainable and so practical that you could do what we're about to do for the next decade of your life. Because the truth is, if you want a transformation that lasts, you have to keep doing these habits to have the results that stick around forever. So you have to do this sustainably. But most people do these really aggressive like challenges or pushes to get the weight off, to be motivated, and then they fall off and they gain their weight back and they do that cycle till they die. And that's not how I run my business. That's not how I coach people. That's the worst way to go about this, and you'll never enjoy your life. So this is why transformation number 7 is you have to transform how you show up. You need to do less things. You need to take more time. You need to quit being as aggressive. We need to slow down. We need to do things a little bit more sustainably and not out of desperation. Because ironically, the same ladies who said, oh my gosh, I feel like I should be doing more, eating less, it should be harder. They also are achieving the fastest, best, and most life-altering results than they ever have in the shortest amount of time because they quit chasing like, I got to do more, I got to go harder. Hopefully this is making sense. Last one. This one's big. Transformation number 8. You have to transform your relationship with yourself. Now, I know that sounds really airy-fairy, but hear me out. You have to understand that your relationship with yourself is the most important. And it's no wonder that the harder you are on yourself, the more rebellious your actions get. But the problem is most people are trying to shame and guilt and berate themselves into a transformation of self-love, and it's never going to happen. You are not going to shame yourself into loving yourself. You are not going to berate yourself into looking good naked. It doesn't work. When you do that, you're just going to have a rebel pattern pop up, just probably like when you were little, right? When did you become the most rebellious with your parents? It's probably when they're like, go, do this. And you're like, no, I'm done. It's the same thing here. So for you have to fix your relationship with yourself. Because especially if part of you is like, oh, once I have the transformation, I'll be happy. Not if it's under the premise and the foundation of self-hate. How do you talk to yourself? How do you show up to yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you beat up on yourself? Here's one. If someone talked to your best friend or your kids the way that you speak to yourself, how pissed would you be? That should be the biggest sign ever. Because you are not going to hate yourself into the body of your dreams. It doesn't work. Trust me, like people have been trying it for years. It doesn't work at all. You need to be your biggest fan. Now, when I say that though, I know that sounds really airy-fairy. And I also know there's probably some resistance that came up as soon as I said that, but it's because it goes against some narrative. What we talked about, your beliefs on number 5 and your identity number 4. Because if you have a belief of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I suck, I don't want to be conceited, whatever belief is there. So of course you going, I love myself, I'm my biggest fan. I'm doing this because I care about me. and I deserve happiness, and I deserve to love the way I look, and I deserve freedom. I deserve to feel great in my own skin. That probably goes against some narrative. You probably feel a little bit of like heaviness in your chest right now. It's because there's a belief there that's not serving you. So we need to fix it. But this is why transformation number 8 is you have to fix your relationship with yourself. Because if you deep down hate yourself, or if you deep down really don't think you're worthy or good enough of the results that you want, of course you're going to sabotage it. If you spent your whole life hating how you look and feel, if you spent most of your life mentally and emotionally incarcerated around food and uncontrolled and overeating and all that stuff, and to top it all off, you hate yourself and treat yourself poorly, and then all of a sudden you're going to lose all this weight and love the way you look and feel, like your brain's not going to let that happen. Because it's going to go, this goes against about all the stories. What if we get the attention we've always wanted? What's going to happen? Will people judge us? Will I change? Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving of that. Oh, I'm not the kind of person that. The result you're looking for goes against all the beliefs you have about yourself. So this is why you have to fix the relationship you have with you so we can undo all these pieces of baggage and all these things holding you back. This is also why eat less, move more doesn't always work like this. Because eat less, move more is like the children's coloring book version of all this, but we have to get deeper. This is why dieting from the inside out exists. This is why I coach people. This is why the podcast is here, is because if you don't fix all of these deep mini transformations, and here's the truth, each of those transformations is not so many. They're a pretty big deal. But if you don't fix them, it's no wonder your big boy life-altering transformation is never going to happen. Hope this is making sense. Now, big exhale. I know that was a lot. That was 41 minutes of a lot of stuff. Now, here's the thing though. I also know how it can be really overwhelming right now. I know when it comes to all this stuff like that can be a lot. You may be sitting down going, well, I just found this guy on Spotify like 3 weeks ago and I've never heard about any of this kind of stuff. And that's a lot. And I get it. Or if you've been listening for a while, you're like, wow, I know. Yeah, you're right. I've been the mental masturbator forever. And I've just like been storing these videos and these podcast episodes and taking all the notes, but I haven't done anything. I get it. It's a lot. Because stepping into these versions of yourself and having the right things in place can be overwhelming, which is why most people need support. So with that being said, I do have a cool opportunity for you. Now, because at the end of the day, overwhelm in complexity is the enemy of execution. It's really hard in this overwhelmed state where it's all this stuff to like, all right, let me go crush this. Because most of you are going to go, this was great. And then as soon as you hop off this, you're going to go back to how things were. And that's the problem. And it's just another rep in the wrong direction of the pattern. So I have a cool opportunity for you. I created a completely done for you case study inside my Dieting from the Inside Out program that literally accomplishes all 8 of these things. It actually accomplishes much more than all 8 of these. And there's a ton of details to it and a ton of information, way more than I'm going to put on the end of this already 45-minute episode. So at the end of the day, though, the cool thing with this particular case study, I have had countless women go through it who literally say, I would not have believed you if you told me I would come out on the other side like this. I'm talking about women who struggled in living in mental incarceration around food and in their body and feeling hopeless and said, Jared, this is my last try. I am done after this if this doesn't work. Who come in with all the skepticism in the world because they've been burned so many times. That's who come to my program. And I get told that every day and I do not take it lightly. And which is why I also make it my core responsibility to fix all of it inside my program. So if you want to see if my program, Inside Dieting from the Inside Out, would be a good fit for you, so we could fix all of this. So this way you wouldn't be having to jump through these proverbial hoops on your own anymore. And we can have all 8 of these mini transformations to have one big, nice, life-altering transformation. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to shoot me a message on Instagram and just send me the word transformation. Because now I'll, one, know you came from the podcast, and then I can ask you a few questions to see if it's the right fit and learn a little bit more about you to make sure. Because like, again, I'm not about anyone committing to anything before making sure everyone knows all the pieces of the pie and it's a good fit on both sides. So do me a favor. If you're like, you know what, I want to see what this is about. I want that transformation. Go hit me up on Instagram at @realjaredhamilton. Just hit me up on Instagram on the DMs and just send me a message with the single word transformation. And then we'll go from there. Otherwise, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I love you, and I will talk to you next week.